In breaking news, the internet can't seem to decide whether branding is dead or not. Shocker. In truth, it's probably just clickbait to say that something is dead, but we're not here to beat that dead horse with a stick right now. Guys, I think I'm saying dead too much. But is branding actually dead? Or does it make an actual difference for new businesses and startups? Does it matter at all for digital products? Or is it just something that large multi-billion-dollar companies use to flex their multi-billion-dollar biceps with? These are real concerns that I just came up with while staring at a blank Google Doc. So if your life-sucking, soul-crushing business problems are different, let me know in the comments, and I'm happy to help you out. But assuming I'm on the right track here, and founders of new businesses want to put their money in things that actually work for their businesses, and not some textbook theory that only works for Coca-Cola, then you might find more answers in this episode than you expect. And now, to see branding beyond theory, and to find out if it actually helps unheard of businesses increase their sales, we need the experiment. Yes, you heard me right. I'm about to conclusively answer the question that no marketer or brand designer will touch with a 10-foot pole. And for good reason, because they don't want to guarantee results. And that's fair, because no one human can guarantee any sort of future outcome because there are far too many variables. That's obvious, right? But we aren't trying to guarantee the future here. We are merely trying to establish whether branding as a tool works as advertised, or whether it's just another bad internet thing that we should cancel like it's Prince Andrew after the Epstein Island and move on to the next trend, like the manosphere. Or something more relevant to business. And so, the question: does this branding increase the likelihood of a new customer purchasing our product? Yes or no? Simple as that. And to answer this question, we devised an experiment based on 3 parts. First, we took 2 ice cream brands that are usually found next to each other in grocery stores, and we selected a couple of flavors that they both had in common. Next, we put together a group of people for a blind taste test and asked them 3 questions. Actually, we only asked them 1 question blindfolded. And that was it. Right. The questions. Number 1, before blindfolding them, we asked, which one do you think you'll enjoy more? And number 2, with the blindfold on, we asked, which one tastes better, first or the second? And number 3, with the blindfold off again, we asked, which brand do you think that was? And by an overwhelming majority, the answers were, for number 1, which do you think you'll enjoy more? Alarix. Number 2, which one tastes better? Imorish. And which one do you think that was Alarix. These results are mind-blowing. Let's break it down. The first question was, which product do you think you'll enjoy more? In other words, we are asking people to decide which product is most likely to give them the better experience just by looking at them. Now, you could also touch and feel these products if you're into that kind of thing. But in this particular case, they're both 1-liter plastic containers, so it didn't make that much of a difference. But definitely no licking, because that's really gross, and it would contaminate the answers to the second question. And it's also unhygienic, which is bad. Very, very bad. And if you think about it, this is exactly how we decide whether to buy a new product or not, when it's something that we've never heard of before, unless price is a deterring factor, which is not the case here because free ice cream. So in this situation, the answer boils down to which product looks like it's promising you a better rocky road experience. And that's it. Quick side note, the container of your product and the design that you put on that container is called packaging. And you make this packaging uniquely yours by putting your branding on it. So how good your packaging is depends on how good your branding is. So if your branding is not very good, then that's going to show on your packaging. regardless of how good your packaging designer is. The second question is very straightforward. Straight up, which one do you prefer? The first or the second? In other words, we're asking them which product is actually the better product. And by doing this under blindfold, we're removing any sort of bias that was created by the first question. Cool, right? I'm such a nerd. The third question, which product do you think that was, gives them a chance to reevaluate the answer that they gave in the first question, just in case that the tasting experience had any sort of impact on how they now see these products. In this particular case, it didn't. But like the good pseudoscientists that we are, we didn't want to take a chance. And that brings us to these final conclusions. Number 1, Analysing has the better visual branding and packaging. And number 2, Immerich has the better product. Now, you can argue that both of these points are subjective. It's like comparing apples versus oranges. But in this particular case, they're essentially the same product. They just have different skins. And if we can agree to take this as fact, here's what this actually means for both of these businesses, and potentially yours. Number 1, new customers have no way of knowing which is the better product until they have experienced it for themselves. So until they have tasted it, or until someone that they trust tells them that this is the better product, they have no way of knowing. So until then, all they can do is decide or take a guess as to which one is going to be the better Rocky Road experience based on what they see. Which is why number 2, because Analysing has the better visual branding and better packaging design, more new customers are going to buy Analysing over Immerich, even though Immerich has the better product. And that makes sense because when you look at Analysing, you think, okay, that could be fun. But then you look at Immerich and you think, I don't know. So in the competition where both of these products are sitting in a deep freezer in a grocery store, Analysing is winning. And here's where Analysing takes the cake. It turns out that Analysing also has a good product. And we established this with the same focus groups after the 3 main questions. So, because Analysing also has a good product, the chances of a new customer, buying Analysing, taking it home, trying it, and being happy with it is pretty high. Which also means that the chances of them wanting to experience a different Rocky Road is kind of low. Which also means that now Analysing has greater potential of turning their new customers into repeat customers. And a repeat customer is someone that you don't have to convince again. So not only is Analysing going to get more new customers than Immerich, but by backing it up with a good enough product that meets the expectations that's being set by that packaging, they also now have the potential to convert those new customers into repeat customers, people they don't have to convince again. Amazing! So cool, right? Which brings us to the final conclusion. When it comes to buying new products and new brands, first-time customers have nothing to go on except on how the product looks, and sometimes also on how it feels or how it smells. For example, if you take a hot sauce brand that comes in a glass bottle versus one that comes in a plastic bottle, the one in the glass bottle is going to feel a little bit more expensive and a little bit more high quality. Or if you take a bar of soap, then the way it smells through the box could be a deciding factor. And a lot of the time, it also tends to be the thing that justifies the price and not the actual quality of the product. Because say it with me, you don't know how good a product actually is until you buy it and try it. And the only thing that's going to convince you on whether to buy it or not is the expectation that's being set by the product, by how it looks, feels, and smells, which means it's not based on the actual quality of the product, but the apparent quality of it, and whether or not the price tag matches that apparent quality. And this is especially important for digital products because there's nothing tangible there for you to touch and feel or eat. Now, you could argue that there's always the free trials and free downloads, but what's going to convince you to sign up for those free trials and downloads? Usually something that you saw leading up to the point of clicking on that button. Something like the website, or what the App Store shows, or if you can afford it, your YouTube ads. So when you're a new business and a new brand, and you're strapped for cash and every single sale matters, and you had to choose one thing to take away from this video, I think it's fair to say that it's this: that presentation is key. It's the one thing that can help convince your customers to take a chance on you. In the immortal words of ZZ Top, after all, only a new customer can turn into a repeat customer, or someone who gives you recommendations and referrals and testimonials. All of those wonderful things that are necessary to build a strong brand. And while we're on that topic, what the hell is a brand? When I ask people what a brand is, they usually tell me it's the logo, colors, and fonts of a business. But what if I asked you to identify the sound? You know who that is, even without seeing the logo. So it could also be a sound. Or what if I asked you what your favorite childhood food is? If you closed your eyes right now and imagined it, you could probably almost taste it. Biryani. So it could also be a taste that no one else can replicate. And you can also do the same with smell and touch. For example, the smell of your partner's perfume, or the way your body lotion feels, or how your favorite jeans feel, or even how your phone feels when you pick it up. Your hand knows without looking when you picked up someone else's phone. Which means that when it comes to identifying a business, we're not limited to visual elements like logos. We can also go by what we hear, smell, taste, or touch. But wait, there's more. Because what if I now asked you, where can I find the best burger in town? Or what if I said, hey, my phone's dying and I need to find a replacement. Should I buy the next iPhone? What would you say? Or let's imagine that you are an employee of your company and I said to you, hey, what's it like to work for your company? Do you like it? Or what if we imagine that I'm a potential customer of your company? What would you say then? In all of these questions, I'm asking you for your opinion. And your opinion on these different brands and businesses is based on what you've experienced with them throughout the course of your life. So the more experiences that you've had with a brand, the more impactful they were, and the more recent that they were, the stronger your memory of them is going to be. So experiences are simply memories of various interactions that we've had throughout our lives. And we interact with the world using our 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and smell. Yes. So you begin to see how the matrix works. But why is this important? Because we don't make decisions based on what we see. We make decisions based on what we think. And what we think is being influenced by what we see. So when a thing looks good, we're more willing to give it a shot because our guard is down. But when a thing looks dodgy, then our guard is up and we're looking for reasons to run away. It's like when you're at a party and an attractive stranger is across the room and you really wouldn't mind that person coming over and talking to you, but then a shabby, smelly guy comes and talks to you instead, and then you wish you'd never listened to your friend and you'd just stayed at home. That never happened. Seriously, our brains function so simply. Pleasant things are good, unpleasant things are bad. And that's because our brains are trying to figure out how to navigate through life with the least amount of pain and trouble as possible, using the simplest possible formula to figure out what we can trust and what is safe. So for whatever reason, if you have a bad experience with a brand, chances are you're never going to buy it again unless you have no other choice. And you're not going to recommend it to anyone else either. So a brand is not only how it interacts with our five senses and the memories that it builds around those five senses, but also what people think about our business. It's what they assume about our business. And even though you can't control what people think of your business, you can influence it. And you do this by using the five senses. And these you can control. Which is why some of the biggest and most successful brands in the world are so diligent about how their brands and their stories are being conveyed. Now, here's the part that matters to new businesses and startups. No one's heard of you, so you have no reputation. So how do new customers answer the question for themselves? Do I trust these guys enough to take a chance? If there's no reputation, what do you put your trust in? It all depends on what your brand is conveying. Like I always say, if it looks like a duck and it smokes like a duck, it's probably not a duck. So if it looks good and feels good, then chances are that it's probably going to be good enough. But if it looks mediocre and says that it's not mediocre, then chances are that it's going to be worse than mediocre, at least in your customer's head. So now that you understand what branding is and how it works and how vital it is and how it can help new businesses and startups increase their sales and how it can help them even beat the competition, let's move on to the final segment of this piece, my coup de grace. Startups don't need branding. Hang on, don't hate me. This might be the part that's most important to the future of your business. Because yes, we saw that branding is very important and it can be the difference between a business that survives and doesn't. So why am I saying that startups and new businesses don't need branding? And the answer to that lies not in branding, but in practical business operations. Haha, didn't see that coming, did you? Now, according to me, any business in the world can be broken down into 4 parts: product, people, process, and promotions. Product refers to product development. People refers to the team, your employees. Process is all about operations and efficiency. It's about getting more done for less. And promotions is your sales engine. So when you look at a business through this structure, you see that product, people, and process are all inward-facing departments. Nobody outside the business can see what's going on here, nor should they. Usually, most of what happens inside these departments is confidential information. The only part of your business that's interacting with the rest of the world is promotions, or marketing, which is the correct term for it. But then it would have been 3 P's and an M, and I didn't like how that sounded. And marketing can be broken down into a further 4 P's, which is called the 4 P's of marketing. Original, I know. And these 4 P's are product, price, placement, and promotions. In this case, product refers to how do you identify it, price is the price tag, placement is distribution or where you can buy this product, and promotions refers to your advertisements, which is how you inform your potential customers what the product looks like, what it does, how much it costs, and where they can buy it. And that's all I'm going to say about the 4 P's in this video, but we'll probably cover it in the coming weeks. But for now, it's enough for you to know that this is the structure of absolutely any business in the world, and that branding is what determines the quality of each of these 8 P's. But coming back to the 4 parts of a business, let's think of each of these parts as a water faucet or a tap. And every time you turn on a faucet, it costs you money. And the higher the pressure, the more money it costs. So if you're building your business on your savings and you're bootstrapping, chances are that you can't afford to have all 4 faucets on at the same time. In fact, chances are that when you start out, you're putting most of your money into product development. And that makes perfect sense. But in my 10 years of doing this with over 150 businesses of different sizes, what I've seen is that the ones that struggle the most are the ones who prioritize and put all their money into product, people, and process while completely ignoring their promotions. And when I say promotions, I don't mean hiring a marketing team to do your work for you. It could be something as simple as running an Instagram ad once a week. It's not a lot, but it's still going to give you more reach than just simply posting it on your profile. But now we can see that promotions is the only part of your business that's interacting with the outside world, that's letting your customers know that, hey, we have this great product. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it can do for you. Here's how much it costs, and here's where you can buy it. So when that part of your business is cut off, you are effectively cutting off ties with potential customers and making it impossible for them to find you, because now you have shrouded yourself with a fog of invisibility, which now sounds like a really great concept for a Halloween costume. But it's also why customers aren't miraculously finding you. And it's also why your sales are suffering. But that doesn't mean that you should put all of your money into promotions either. For example, we had a client that came to us a couple of years ago, and he said, we need 2,000 leads every week. And we said, sure, but do you have the process in place to service those 2,000 leads? They didn't. Another example. I started my first business in 2012, 3 years after I graduated. And it was a designer wear brand. And I closed it down 2 years later. Not because I didn't have enough demand, but because I didn't have the people or the process in place to supply that demand. In the case of tech startups, they tend to go all in on promotions once they have an MVP, even when it's not market ready, which inevitably leads to a stream of bad reviews. So it's not a case of just jacking up promotions, but rather a case of gradually improving each part while balancing them against each other. And founders, this is the real fight. Increasing sales is just part of it. So now coming back to branding, it's not so much a case of whether or not you should brand, to which the answer is a resounding yes, but rather, when is the right time to brand? And in my experience, the answer to that is when you can afford it. So if you're an unfunded startup, if you don't have that much in capital, if you have very little in savings, then aim to think about it in about 2 to 3 years' time after you've experimented with all 4 Ps. Because by that time, you would have built up a significant reservoir of data that you can use to make informed choices in which direction your branding should go. On the other hand, if you're a funded startup, or if you have the capital and you can afford to think about branding while also running the other parts of your business, why not save yourself the time and go into it right away? So in hindsight, I think a better title would have been Your Startup May Not Need Branding Yet. And that's it. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.